They're not going to be this game as pick and ban is upon us. SKT with exactly the same roster will take up the red side of Summoner's Rift and KT with maybe a little bit more ban flexibility as they head over to the blue. Let's see who's going to be able to draw first blood here in the Telecom War. Ezreal, of course, an intelligent first ban. We don't need to pack up just yet, Papa Smithy.
People joining us late, or VOD viewers, we're on patch 9.3, but Frostmancy hotfix is in this second week of the 9.3 cycle. So Frostmancy bot lane with Ezreal, a possibility. The Mordekaiser was banned, actually, you remember.
Yeah.
In response against Kingzone, so a slight chance Mordekaiser comes out one day, and Mata has laned with a Mordekaiser or two, but largely expecting it to be a bit more honest. And I love that Yasuo is hitting the ban list, because we started last week on the Yasuo kind of item indirect buff patch.
Yep.
Seeing no Yasuo, and then my last day, Friday, instantly Yasuo is first pick. And you and I were saying, feels like Ezreal and Yasuo are going to be right up there now that Yasuo bot lane is being very frequently picked. Yasuo hits the bans, but something's got to give. And this week, it's been a lot of Urgot.
Yes, certainly a lot of Urgot. SKT can ban it away if they would like to, but there's still so much more left on the board. Zoe going to be taken away here, and BDD has been one of our resident Zoe players since she came out.
Interesting ban when the LeBlanc is open, because LeBlanc, of course, is the pretty clear response to a Zoe first pick that was to come out. Instead, KT are going to maybe pick for that Zenith storyline we were speaking about, where Zenith's win rate on AD carry has been in the toilet, but his awesome dude or off AD carry, off marksman picks have been his bread and butter. See if that is the story here, as Teddy can't take his trusty Ezreal. Wonder where the fallback is now that Lucian, Ezreal, and Kai'Sa are all taken away.
Yeah, not letting the Kai'Sa scale up against the Vladimir lane, which can be an easy lane, especially in the early few levels, is an interesting one here from KT. Still a lot of options here for Teddy if he wants to go towards something like a Sivir, but the Galio has been left up, and that could be for Mata, but it also could be that win button that SKT have been utilizing in the mid lane despite the nerfs.
And it's still a button that you can put in mid as a blocker or as a I'll lose a bit matchup. So it's one of those things on red side where you're like, it's probably support, but we don't have to commit to that in the first round, and it might draw some junk bans from the enemy, depending on what you're thinking.
Papa Smithy, what did you mention before? You mentioned a certain Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser Galio bottom
Let's
lane
not talk
with
about
the
that one.
Frostmancy.
Let's talk about
baby.
Prince Jarvan IV on the side of KT.
Oh, and also a Smeb favorite there as well. So you'd assume that it's going to Umpty, but could be top lane, could be support.
Let's actually unpack or peel back some more, because remember, it's been Klid's go-to in a lot of recent matches. When he's not playing Lee Sin, he's largely been on Jarvan duty. And it's taking away from the potential Cataclysm and also Hero's Entrance duo.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
KT giving up the flex here as the Sivir going to be picked away from SKT in theory.
Also, still a two-way flex on the Vladimir. So still a lot of things going on here. Vladimir farming against a Galio is a potential mid lane matchup, but not expected, given that it's almost always Galio bot lane in the recent meta, both in solo queue and also in pro play.
If you were going to flex that, though, I mean, I feel like you'd pick the Sivir later and go for something else instead. Maybe KT have got some crazy flexes in mind, as the Kalista has been locked in here by Teddy. So Kalista Galio gives a heck of a lot of agency to the old Galio.
Here's what I'll say on that point. You're right, it could be a next level. But what I will say on KT's side is both the champions taken away pair really well with what SKT has. Jarvan for the engage, Sivir just to give the beefy boys some more movement speed and fight alongside a very strong tank line. So I actually don't mind KT's first round draft, but I don't think the draft really falls into place till more picks are there. Give us a bit more information. Speaking of more picks, the Nocturne taken away as a dive buddy. And Kalista Galio, a very possible duo lane for SKT.
Yeah, it's what I mentioned before, but the Shen being banned away here I find quite interesting, unless SKT are expecting the Sivir to go somewhere else other than bottom lane, because I just don't know whether Snowflower will be picking it alongside a Sivir, because that lane I feel like auto loses to the Kalista Galio in a lot of ways.
So Alistar has to be banned by KT. You know that as SKT, because actually Alistar hard counters Sivir as a champion. Headbutt Pulverize.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Really makes her spell shield useless because of timings there. So actually, the Alistar ban's kind of guaranteed. And now we're in this spot where I imagine Klid just defaults on to Lee Sin, because why not? It wasn't banned by KT. They had to ban away the Alistar to make the Sivir work. The Nocturne ban, again, is a compositional answer. KT Rolster, their champions really are not bound to any position apart from Zenith on Sivir, so we're waiting to see how they can round out this draft. What approach they want to take. Right now, it's team fight Wombo. This would be more pick power, more team fight if they go to Lissandra for mid lane, to Smeb on Vladimir against the Urgot, a very possible matchup. Means we're only looking for a support unless Jarvan going to be taking his best Spirit impression in the bot.
Yeah, or if Snowflower's going to be playing Lissandra, who knows what's going to happen here. Is the double speed up, one of the favorite bottom lanes of old, with the Mantra Inspire helping out be a little bit of one of those on the hunts. But nope, not going to happen as Gragas has been locked in, and we're still flexing, Papa Smithy.
I'm not believing that. I think we're going straight in there. It's hard engage comp with Gragas bot lane. And a lot of times it's, all right, we get a Zillion for Faker in the mid lane. That's exciting to see. We've been wondering if we'd ever see Fly jump onto the Zillion, and we get it out of Faker. Interesting choice, though, right now, how this Zillion actually works. Like, who is getting Zillion ulted? Kallista's the only real damage threat on this team. Right now, swapsies are going to begin, and it could be pushing power against the Galio, against the Gragas, I should say. I think it's going to be the bot lane Galio, but we'll wait and see the confirmation. Going to have that 20 seconds in about 8.
Yeah, exactly right. So the cleanse is already there on Faker, and you would have expected Teleport to come in. And Teleport is going to be switched to, and the Zillion is going to be switched back. Yeah. So Zillion is going to be picked up here, and of course, one of those legacy picks for Faker that he was very successful on, but only for a few games, and not recently, that is for sure, as he has been cropping up internationally, and we've been interested to see when he's going to first come out here in the LCK.
My read on the SKT draft is very early to mid-game spiking, 2 items spiking comp, where you just go in with Reckless Abandon and 2-item Kalista kind of decides the story. However, you look on the side of KT and you say, Sivir Vladimir, I don't even need to see the other 3 champions. You guys are going to win late game. So very much going to be about roaming with Zillion and kind of doing an impression of what we thought we'd get out of the Aurelion Soul 2 games in a row from Gen G. I think this needs to be hitting the rift hard and fast and maybe even loose to try to get out there. You're very able to turret dive when Zillion can just revive you, and any turret dive is worth taking.
Exactly. Plus, Klid's going to be able to get to level 6 much faster, because what else does Zillion do? He randomly gives you jungle a whole bunch of experience. So he's going to be able to get a few of those procs to try and get himself around a nerfed jungle experience a little bit better.
I'll take your word for it. I'm not a big fan of the jungler showing himself in mid, but let's hear the fan chants. First Telecom war in this park.
Okay, we are definitely on the KT side of things, but both squads with a lot of fans. This is the Telecom war. See who's going to be able to take game number 1.
Observer shows off. Hail of Blades Kalista. Looking for trades. Very much a trading keystone.
You would also think Glacial Augment Zillion.
Yep. That one means we're going to probably see a GLP out of Faker. Maybe Twin Shadows. You're very annoying. I'm actually a big fan of the Glacial Augment on champions like Zillion. Because remember, Zillion has the world's most annoying AoE stun, but otherwise, you know, he's speeding up, and he can't always use his E for a slow. Having those extra CCs all over the place can actually be super valuable. So this seems like a Faker special that he's showing off. No cleanse in the mid lane, though, so there is going to be some spots where when the CC starts, it may never end, and there's not always the guarantee the ult will be in, as Snowflower just defending Umti on his ward clear.
Yep, going to make sure that this first clear is as easy as possible. Throws in a flag here as Commando Jarvan. And SKT setting themselves up for a potential gank at the beginning, but Mata just going to pull the wave just to make sure that it's pushing in the right direction, and SKT are allowed to set this one up as best as they'd like.
So let's try and wrap our heads around Hail of Blades, because you would think in almost every trading scenario that the normal lethal tempo would provide more, and obviously scales better because you can go over the attack speed cap in a team fight. However, let's ask the question then. What does it give you? It gives you the ability to go Ravenous Hunter and also Taste of Blood for stronger laning. That's what Kallista's getting here, is the other runes in the Domination tree really help for a laning, and also in a trade, you get the 3 autos in, you rend, and you get out, right? So it's a trading and laning keystone in this case, rather than some of the other choices that Kalista more commonly goes. We also saw the Glacial Augment, which is much more about abusing the keystone on the side of Faker.
Yep. And especially it's a little bit different when you're, you know, Kalista as well, because attack speed means a whole bunch of different things, especially mobility as well. So having that burst of mobility for the first few autos It's actually something that Teddy will be able to utilize very well with the Hail of Blades.
Yeah, nice point there, more jumps.
Yeah.
In the early game than you would usually expect. The flat attack speed being over 100% at level 1 onwards. Pretty crazy. He's going for a turret dive.
Yeah, Clid's going to come down here as Zenit's going to get taunted. That's the Winds of War, and that's the Lee Sin grabbing first blood. We have started very early in this Telecom war. Before 3 minutes, first blood going over to Clid.
And you're going to be oh so sure to pull off those turret dives. He was deaded really quick.
Oh, yeah.
But the teleport does relieve a lot of pressure from it, so the only thing you really claim here is the gold onto Clid.
Well, actually, that could actually be a huge deal as Marta's going to go down very, very low, as we see in this replay.
This is really well calculated because remember, turret die is less forgiving on the 2019 patch. Turrets now do ultra damage. It is a set piece play, it is well enacted, but when it comes to getting a CS lead or turret play, it's too early to yield anything like that.
Also, not enough to get a kill onto Faker in the mid lane, but they do get his flash as we see the aftermath of that gank.
It's just one of those weird things where you sit back and say, it took a lot of summoners. It took heal and double summoner from Marta. It drew Ignite and Teleport, but it didn't get the flash of Zenit. So what does it actually mean in the grander terms? We'll have to wait and see, but we shouldn't argue. Whenever we get action rather than inaction in the early game, we should be shouting.
Yeah, we should certainly be excited. As Khan's getting pushed in by Smeb here out towards the top side, and we've got a slight advantage for the Vladimir. Always a good news story for the Vladimir squad.
Not necessarily the safest lane for Vlad. We haven't seen people bold enough to try Vladimir into Urgot this season.
Not a lot of them, no.
Can't disengage that ult very easy. You need flash to do it.
Speaking of disengaging, Snowflower might need to here as he's going to go down very low. His Aftershock is now procced as the Rend is going to show us that does a fair bit of damage here in this early stage of the game. Level 4 for Teddy, level 3 for Zenit.
Snowflower's kind of in a tricky spot. The way that Justice Punch works with the hitbox, you kind of have to aggressively body slam, because if you try to defensively body slam, you can really get an odd spot. If you don't body slam at all, you don't get Aftershocks, so you take a huge burst of damage from Kalista and Galio. So watch how he plays the match. We're just going in again.
Yeah, got another taunt as Snowflower. Oh my god, Zenit just took so much burst from Marta's Winds of War.
I was watching Snowflower take a drink and be like, oh, poor guy.
Yeah.
I need to get a drink to get over this.
Well, he's going to go home now. He's going to sleep it off, I think, for a little bit, as Zenit might need to do the same, but doesn't quite have the luxury. He could only afford a refillable potion when he went back home there, as 30 CS to 45. SKT are doing what this bottom lane is known to be able to do, and that is punish and bully.
That could be a big thing for the side of SKT, Kalista, and the Rune choice, I think, helping them, but obviously the turret dive doing the majority of the work in the early game. 2 shops now out of Zenit. Finally going to shop for a second time. Watching the mid lane, you already mentioned earlier that Faker flashed. Don't really know how this gank happens, especially now that BDD's hit 6.
Feels
so
like Clid is looking for it.
Gank,
yeah,
right?
Counter gank timing more than anything else, but we can see that Umpty's nowhere nearby. Snowflower comes on over. He's standing on a ward, as he might have counter gank on his mind as well, but not a lot of Lissandras that'd be too scared standing in the middle of a lane at this point, especially with control ward vision up towards the top side. Marta going to come on down as well. It's a bit of a party here in the mid lane.
Remember our draft analysis here around SKT spiking very hard in the mid game, and then just not being possible to answer Vlad Sivir in the late game. Vlad's going to get there. Kalista can do so little against Vladimir. Almost non-interactive death's going to come out. So scaling-wise, a lot to like about SKT. They want to get an early late about SKT in the early game. A lot to like about KT in the late game. So given that, SKT need to continue living on that razor's edge, living right on the aggressive side of the matchup. So Clid wants that level 6 and for the playmaking to start around the Zillion ult.
And how do we feel about Sivir in this game as well? Is it going to be the Essence Reaver build that we've seen crop up for the 3-item spike, or is it potentially going to be another one of those Infinity Edge builds for the earlier 2-item power spike that you can get access to and allow that to bridge towards this Sivir Vladimir late game a little bit nicer? Or are they just going to try and avoid fights until those 3 items have come in?
I know I'm personally a bigger fan of IE Shiv as a build because it kind of does everything, and fights aren't long enough with usually squishes on both sides for you to need the extra mana regen. Obviously Sivir is mana hungry, but you can kind of get away with different approaches to the lane. But I would understand Essence Reaver and parking Sivir mid lane and just wave clearing, right? There's the complete onus is on SKT to play super aggressive and turret dive if they ever see Sivir hoovering up CS and make the wrong turret dive, and it can go very, very wrong against this comp. So I think it's one of the rare times that I actually can see both sides and probably approve of both sides from the side of KT Sivir.
See what Zenit actually decides to do. So he has to make that decision. Khan trading against Smeb quite nicely here at this point.
Very early execution is calling to up with those early lane trades.
We'll put behind the Black Cleaver, which can be quite a change of pace in the build. Going for a cull as well has Khan, just to try and get through, maximize what he can do in the mid game, which is, as you pointed out earlier, exactly what SKT wants to be aiming for in this game.
I think SKT have actually drafted, maybe not to quite this degree, mid-game comps, as Marta misses everything.
Well, everyone body slamming everywhere.
There's been a lot of SKT games, I was watching at home on the weekend, a lot of SKT games where they know they're not pretty outmatched in the late game, but they just take every Drake, every neutral, get turret plates, and the game never gets to that late game time where they might fall away. So I think this has been something that SKT has been willing to do. But until you see it play out, until we can kind of count the turret plates in early game, you never really know to what degree it's going to actually engineer a victory for SKT.
Yep. Well, Smeb's having probably the best time ever on the Vladimir. Gets the perfect back as well, as he's got the Kindle Gem and the Fiendish Codex. So he's just going to be in all of the cooldown reduction heaven that he'd like to be. Has the wave shoved towards him here, as Khan has the opportunity of going back home. Doesn't have teleport, of course, because he switched to the Ignite. Wanting that one to help have a bit of a chance in a 1v1 scenario against this Vladimir, who's happily scaling.
And I love that Teddy is actually building towards his keystone. What do we say about going into the Hail of Blades tree? It's domination, it's strong trading choice rather than maybe the team fight 2 items of going for lethal tempo or going for precision first. So why not get any points in W and just keep dunking out with individual trades? Not like Galio can walk up and get melee trades to proc the W anyway, and they're not worried about what's happening around the map. They're dunking lanes, so don't mind that. It's a very kind of reviewer's individual choice that's being made by Teddy.
Yeah, I don't mind it, especially with the nerf to how much it does now, as Faker's going to get his ult off. Chrono Shift is going to be there. Thought they might want to try and wait that one out, but both BDD and Umti going to take a little bit of bomb damage, and no more Chrono Shift is available as Smeb. There's the flash forward, Tides of Blood, 1v1 solo kill. Smeb gets it against Khan topside.
And that's a big one. It wasn't looking on the cards, but a solo kill for the scaling Vladimir. Oh boy, we're going to have to understand how that developed, because it just seems like over-eagerness by Khan to be that far up the lane in a trade that he clearly wasn't winning in a dominant fashion.
And especially when he was building for a lane with a cull, things like this, didn't have the battle stats to take this on.
It has to be an aggressive E. This is with
misses the ult.
Yeah, he misses the ult, and this is with no ally around, so it's not like he was looking for gank assistance, so that is a huge, unfortunate trade. Doesn't matter. With the double scaling choice and no jungle backup, he looks for an outplay. Speaking of outplays.
Yep, it's going to be the kick onto BDD. No ultimate there as the Claw of Doom comes in. They just don't have the options. It's Umti smacks down on the Zillion Martyr. Wanting to find it, baits out the flash with the stopwatch. It might still be enough to grab the Jarvan here as BDD wants to get some of his buttons back. Circle of Frost a little bit too late, but here comes Smeb. Can he get in here? Martyr, his former teammate, is standing between, but now doesn't have the Aftershock available. Burning down with the Ignite, the bot from Snowflower. It's enough to grab the kill for Smeb. And it is a slogfest early, but KT come out ahead.
And KT with the scaling advantage will take any gold on the Vladimir they can get. Vladimir in a team fight against Kalista, almost impossible to navigate. So these are good early moments for KT, and SKT caught napping a bit. Baker goes down, and that really unsettles the mid-jungle duo.
Oh yeah, now we've got Snowflower moving back down. Vision there, of course, for Teddy, so he'll be A-OK. Looking to try and get some trades here as well, as Marta's going to limp his way down towards the bottom side of the map. Teddy just wanting this SKT roster to play around the Kalista a little bit more. No way that he could actually get up for this skirmish.
Do notice, as far as we are aware, Chrono Shift is available. We're watching the replay here. Baker just doesn't expect to die to the electrocute proc. He's half a second too late on the self-ult. And from there, it just falls into place. Vladimir is closer to the fight than Urgot if you look at the minimap.
It was actually a visual bug. There was no Chrono Shift available.
Okay, that's important to know. Yeah, we get the confirmation there, so that's a timing issue there.
Yeah.
Just working against Faker. Thanks for that observer mode.
That's
Smeb
a little bit ironic, isn't it, really?
Yeah, Smeb can clean it up. Ends up being just an advantage on the side of KT, but given the scaling, and now the Rift Herald control topside around the Urgot lane. On both sides, we might see some fights.
Base check, as there's the ultimate just to get rid of the Kalista. Really good boomerang comes in from Zenit, and he's actually not finished. There's the Claw, BDD looking for the ultimate, as Faker has got that Chrono Shift back off cooldown. Cleared here, but BDD just wants to bully him out of here. Safeguard's going to come over as Umti gets kicked back. And Smeb now finds himself in amongst 3 members of SKT. Pool comes down relatively early. And he's now wearing this bomb on his head. Oh, that was so close to not being the Herald for SKT, but still able to lock that one down. And now they're even able to grab this bottom lane outer turret. Screws are starting to come in here as KT just don't know where to really be on the map.
And that's a big win for SKT around the lane that built and ruined for lane. They're getting 4 turret plates before the turret plating falls down. Unsure why Gragas wasn't there. I couldn't see if he was coming up for the roam or was the back timing, but it ends up being super significant. They get a lot of extra gold onto the Kalista towards her 2-item power spike, and even at 1 item, could be a dueling Kalista where that first 3 autos are coming in thick and fast, and the early Ren damage might be miscalculated by the recipient.
Yeah, that's Blade of the Ruin King already done, so first item spike coming in here. Zenit building towards Infinity Edge, but not quite there yet. Still needs to finish that one up, and will be a decent 1-item spike, a fantastic 2-item spike with the Shiv or the Rapid Fire Cannon, depending on where he wants to go with his Zeal item. And then I'd assume something like an Essence Reaver to come in afterwards, but we've also seen double Zeal item just for as much crit as possible, alongside your Infinity Edge with the extra value you can get. Well,
the build that always does something is Shiv, because then you always delete minion waves outside of Baron buffs, so I think he might consider that. Infernal Drake, and with it, 1 item already done on Teddy, so bold to walk up to this, so KT will give it up. Control bot side, as ruined and expected on the side of the Kalista. Top side, will he play this one better?
Oh, well, we got Hemoplague coming in here. He's holding onto the pool is Smeb, as Hemoplague's already done. Okay, Smeb, can he actually get to it? Crimson Rush back available just then, and now BDD's going to come in with the claw. Ultimate was available for BDD, but Khan just going to not be able to do anything. Nice timing there from BDD.
And welcome back to the LCK to Smeb, someone who's received the most criticism of almost any player next to Peanut in the entirety of the LCK. Played that super, super well again. Khan not able to find that ult, even though he baited out the pool finally in the mid lane. With Herald put down, there's still potential for SKT to hit the map. But KT are coming out like bandits in a draft that could have rolled over with some stronger movements in the early game by SKT.
Yep, exactly right. So the reason why SKT still has this lead that's quite solid is A, that turret falling down in the mid lane due to Shelly, and also the bottom lane outer turret already being dead. So 1 turret to 2, top side of the map in favor of KT, elsewhere in favor of SKT, but so many more turret plates actually coming down for SKT earlier on in this one as well. That Disdain missing was everything here in this matchup.
And the other thing is, who's going to pull first, and can Khan hit the ultimate? He has to hit this one. Juke to the right there, not predicted by Khan. BDD comes up top. And there's really no counterplay after all of this, but again, Smeb has made some really elementary mistakes so far this season. And while that's not the biggest epic outplay, it's not a Riven pentakill like Smeb 4 years ago, small moment like that might end up being important given where this game seems to be going with the Vladimir.
Yeah, watching Teddy miss that cannon creep was very depressing. As BDD up here to answer this wave push. Marta's here as well, so it could be a scary time here potentially. But I feel like the Telecom War always is just a very different beast. I mean, we might be setting it up with all of these different trends and things that have been happening so far throughout the season, but SKT versus KT always delivers in one way or the other, and it's not often exactly the way you'll expect, and that's happening once again here. Between SKT and KT, the rise of Smeb seems to be the story of Game 1.
And it's one of those things where the battle lines were drawn in this rivalry 15 years ago. That's how long in Korea there's been a rivalry between these two teams. 5 years before League of Legends even released in StarCraft 1, it was a big rivalry. They're looking for Khan under turret, but Umti is going to be spotted on a ward. You always choose one. There's nobody that's a fan of both these teams in Korea.
You either like Flash or you like Boxer, Pop Smithy.
Faker or Score. Kind of awkward. Score's not playing in this game. Clid's here to try to find some coverage. They want another turret.
Yeah, Q going to land, but he can't follow that one because it killed the minion. That's the problem. They're going to be able to take the outer turret on the bottom side, but answered immediately top side of the map. Marta and Teddy up there. So going to be relatively even, and BDD is here to pick up this minion wave, so in a turret, no damage there. Khan towards the bottom side of the map catches his wave as well, and the Gromp is going to be taken there by Clid. So far, just trading farm, see who's going to be able to make the first move. I feel like these mid-game skirmishes are just going to be so incredibly important.
And they are advantage SKT with just the champions they've chosen and the 1-2 item spikes being cleaner than the available pickups for the side of KT. So they still have a gold lead, an Infernal, and a comp that wins now. KT have a scaling comp, and the S word has been one that we've spoken very rarely this season.
Yeah, it's a dirty word, but
Yep.
I feel like it's getting less and less dirty. It's taking a bath week in, week out. As that's the back that's going to get interrupted. Khan not going to get knocked up just yet, but that's a lot of damage there from Umpty. The flash comes in immediately, and they get a teleport from Faker. That is so many resources just to get Khan back to base.
And that's just a greedy shopping spot that a lane ward catches, gets 3 summoners out of if you include Faker's teleport.
Yeah.
Now playing the map and outnumbering with the comp that wants to fight now gets trickier. So that's a way bigger win for KT than first meets the eye.
Snowflower has to be a little bit careful here. Infernal Drake is going to be coming up in 40 seconds. Smeb moving on over, as if they manage to get a pick off onto Clid, that's going to be a huge deal. But SKT feeling the same way about Umpty. No stun going to come down there. Zenit, he's been caught. And, oh, wow, actually got the spell shield in to get rid of the Ren. Teddy was about to get that kill, but didn't quite happen. But Zenit had to use the ultimate and his spell shield, and now has to go back.
Agreed. From watching, it seemed like the spell shield timing there was what was key. Very tricky because, of course, no animation there, just an instant cast. So
You just have to feel it.
feel it this time, and important means he's going to get it back. He's going to come back with the teleport and be competitive for this Infernal. But it's still where SKT are noticeably stronger in terms of their items and scalings. So can KT do anything other than poke around the Infernal?
Well, that red buff goes down very, very quickly, and they don't decide to actually take the Infernal Drake just yet. Teleport available from B to D. Smeb can also get in there at the same time. No teleports from Faker, and there was a great flank ward that's just going to get taken down. Zillion able to do it, and Clid started up this dragon already. Look at SKT lying in wait.
This is really big, because now Lissandra has to walk up. There's no flank ward. That was actually really important vision clearing by Faker.
Yep, another one going to go down. Gets put in exactly the same position, but the Lissandra, it doesn't matter. She's already here. 50-50 time, but the reset comes in on the dragon. Clid still holding his position. This is oh, it's not going to happen. Umpty going to be able to take this one down as Circle of Frost is down onto Clid. Oh man, that timing was so beautiful as Marta's going to try and get them out of there. Smeb dives on forward. That's 3 members hit with the Hemoplate. Frozen Tomb comes down as Faker does revive himself. And he's going to be able to get out of there. So much AP already built up, has full health when he comes out of it. But Zenit is already able to grab the kill. The Callista is going to go down. KT may have found their team fight and the dragon. And that's 3 dead on the side of SKT.
Both teams were flipped on the wrong side of the map. That meant that Smeb could guarantee an AoE wombo. And playing Zillion and all the other situational things and playing around the Callista was too many headaches. Callista taken out, SKT lose the skirmish. It's not going to reward an objective to KT, but these are the team fights later that should be more reliable. Smeb just says, this is my time to shine. Hard to argue with him with that much wombo.
Yep. AP, AoE flanks, Papa Smithy, and Smeb. Name a more iconic duo. We saw his cannon already. It was wanting, but his Vladimir looked great, even if, just as long as you don't look at that proto belt in the wrong direction. Used it to try and create distance between himself and his opponents because he was very low. There's the man on your screen right there.
Khan can't buy an ultimate on
no.
this Urgot. It's gone just a bit askew every time, and those sort of things are tipping the scaling comp to pick up gold, to stay competitive. They got that Infernal as well in the Mexican standoff around the second Infernal spawn. So now it needs to be SKT outplaying. There are still ways they win this game, but a lot of the balanced scenarios, the ARAM is going more and more to the side of KT Rolster. And the Baron threat of this Callista, the turn and pick power of the Galio, the hero's entrance, following up a Clid engage. These are the sort of things we need to see. Otherwise, KT, again, if they can just go to resting state and pile hundreds of CS onto the Sivir, you gotta like KT in game number 1.
Oh yeah, and look at what Teddy's had to do as well. He needs to build a Hex Drinker. He has to put behind his Hurricane or his Ginsu's Rage Blade or whatever he's going to come up with as item number 2. This Callista is so far behind whilst having a great start to the game and so many of the turret plates.
And it's one of those things where if you say, hey, the enemy team has a fed Vladimir, Callista, what you building? You can build Blade the Ruin King, Hex Drinker, Phantom Dancer, Bloodthirster, and just not really do a lot of damage but survive.
Yeah.
Or you can go fast Hurricane, the Vlad's held down, and then you just reset the team fights before Vlad turns on. The Vlad is definitely showing up to the party.
Yeah.
They tried to cancel his Uber. Apparently there was a makeup Uber or a Lyft or whatever it is. He's going to get there, and how Teddy maximizes damage in a pretty unenviable spot. Remember, he has a Zillion as well. If the Hemoplague finds Zillion and Callista, I mean, it's pretty hard to press all your buttons and make this work.
Someone's dead, Papa Smithy. That's how that one works. And we haven't even really seen Mata be able to utilize the Fate's Call very often either. I mean, I feel like SKT's comp works if they can catch their opponent unawares. It's not necessarily built for these dragon fights that Vladimir's going to have such a great time in if they can find the positioning. And Mata just hasn't been able to get really anything going on this Galio support. And KT, look at all of their vision around this Baron. We've got a really cool hat being built very soon by the Hemomancer on the bottom side of the map. Smeb, we mentioned the scaling word. It's irrelevant now. He's going to have his first favorite item. He's going to have 45% CDR, and he's going to cut through everyone.
How can SKT find the map control to not make this about a team fight that right now is beginning to seem stacked against them? And that's something they will have to show us. Twin Shadows is being built by Faker to be able to potentially find a pick. And remember, Glacial Augment synergy with any item slows.
Yep.
A pick onto anyone, even the Gragas, is very welcome for the side of SKT. Mountain Drake spawning in a minute should be another fight spot. Right now, they don't have first access to the Drake because they're trying to put all their wards around this Baron.
Yeah, we got SKT clearing out everything on the top side. As the dust settled after all of that action, I mean, it's still a gold advantage for SKT, but the reason why we're talking about this as such a KT-favored situation is because if SKT were going to be in a winning spot, it would be a 7,000 gold lead at this point in time, 24 minutes into the game, and SKT would be looking for how to bully KT out of their Baron pit so they can win the game.
The way I always like to talk about it is some champions use gold better than other champions. At some point with a Callista, you can build more items after the first two, the first three. But after that, Sivir is just getting so much more value from 4th, 5th, 6th item. Vladimir and his double scaling on his passive is getting more value out of the next items. Those items in a big gold game are going to come. Death Cap's already there. It's scaling item for a scaling team. Because of things like that and the fact that it's a 40,000 gold game, you like KT at 50,000 gold, that's for sure. And right now, it seems hard for SKT to establish daylight in terms of gold lead over KT before it becomes 50,000 plus on both teams.
Not to mention how stable the map state is for KT at this point in time as well. You can see Umti happy to walk up and just solo out this Drake. Mountain to go on top of the Infernal that they've already built up. You'd expect this to be another one of those SKT games that you were mentioning where they have all of the Drakes and they retain control of the game from that point on. Turned out Clid couldn't actually lock down the second Infernal of the game, and now we've got Drake parity, and in fact, a slight advantage for KT, who will be in a sieging scenario with a Mountain Drake in their back pocket as well. Baron, very, very visible for SKT, because they know if they lose a Baron, game's basically over.
But because KT are happy to take the Drakes that went on the menu when it was Callista and Galio bot lane, with the map exchange here, KT is saying, you're not going to start Baron, so we're going to just take Drakes and then come up as 4 and 5 with some ways to check vision. For example, the flag on the Jarvan, and fight things back. Third Inferno spawning.
Good lord.
Could potentially be at the same time as the Baron before someone picks it up there. Teddy has finally got the build back on course with a Hurricane, but is it enough? Is it too little, too late? These are things we're going to evaluate shortly. SKT, again, it's hard for KT to blow open the game, but the onus isn't on them with the Sivir and Vladimir.
Yeah.
So these even states where we're trading farms should, again, favor KT in an even game.
Well, KT have also, you know, had issues with pulling the trigger a little bit too early and a little bit too hard and throwing games away. But SKT, I mean, that's one of the things that we've actually criticized them for, especially on the top side. I mean, Khan has already demonstrated that today with some of his earlier calls, his flash disdain just really being a problem and giving away that solo kill to Smeb and starting this whole snowball. I feel like these teams are really weirdly similarly matched at this state, despite SKT looking so much better in the standings.
You would sound like a KT optimist if you said that before the series started, because KT have made a lot more mistakes. And some people just rolled over in lane, right? Smeb has had
who
a
was
lot of
expecting
struggles
Smeb
there.
to play this well this game? I don't think anyone, really.
It's your first series you watch of the season, you heard Smeb's not playing well. It's so easy to counter with, oh yes, but remember all those times 4, 3, 2 years ago. And you'd be right, but when you can't perform 8 best-of-3s in a row, you know, at some point, you
gotta
lose
start believing.
your
Exactly.
brownie points. We got the 3 Worlds teams in the relegation spots, so there was no way to assume that. So it's nice to see Smeb. Again, it's not a full game yet. It's 25 minutes of good play.
Yeah. And they have to finish, they have to close it out, right? And KT have struggled to find that ability in the past, especially with this new roster that they're still trying to figure out and put together. But at the moment, you know, Zenit's farming up quite nicely, only 25 behind the Callista, but he's got a kill under his belt. Bit of a gold bounty here in a QSS as Zenit's looking for item number 3. We'll see whether he just goes back and buys a Zeal item outright and is just battle ready at this point onward, or whether Mikura's Scimitar is going to come in first. A little bit more of that added utility. And it is Zeal item number 2.
All right, SK Telecom. Now all about the Baron, like we mentioned. Going to be difficult for them to fight for both Infernal and also the Baron, but right now they are splitting their wards, as you can see on the minimap. Have to find a fight where Faker and Teddy aren't both hit by the Hemoplague. I think they just instant lose there because it's so hard to find any way to maximize damage and deal with the AoE wombo possible from KT. They're chasing for a pick onto Umti and get a nice amount of damage.
Yeah, cleared. Almost had a kickback opportunity there. The bomb is going to go off, but you can see the trade on the bottom side of the map. Smeb was actually winning against Khan. Khan had to use his Ghost in order to get away. Vladimir is very scary with these 3 items built up. And
SKT have the veterancy of a lot of experienced players in a game that's right up in the air to make the better moves here. You're really eyes on Snowflower, Zenit, and Umti in particular to not be caught out in these push and pull moments where vision is established for one team around Baron, then it's cleared out as the enemy team gets Infernal. There's no free objectives right now. The Drake is not a cloud or ocean at 30 minutes. It's an Infernal in a very even game that is a must contest. So because of that, the push and pull, the vision exhaustion into vision replenishment that requires recalls because of the maximum 2 control wards is the sort of spot where if you're new to pro play, you make an understandable error and the enemy team just runs away with the game from that single mistake.
Yeah, and I think the Infernal could potentially be used for some sort of bait here. And on the side of SKT, if they can take the Baron quickly enough, because their Baron secure is so incredibly strong. So it's not likely to get to a 50-50 scenario, because even though it's been nerfed, Ren still does a bajillion damage to Baron if you've got enough sticks in the Purple Worm. So there is an opportunity here for SKT to run some shenanigans because they've had vision on Baron almost this whole game.
They can't rush it that fast though, Atlas, because it's only Callista. Zillion, no Baron damage. Urgot, okay. Lee Sin and Galio, obviously no Baron damage. So
yeah,
it's actually not going to be super fast, especially without that mountain they would love to have that KT was able to claim. The secure range, like you say, is still pretty good with Rend and Smite. But we'll focus on the action right now. It seems like 5v5 around the Infernal is the call. Only 1 blue ward on Baron, no red vision in SKT. And they find the right angle here. As
pressure
BDD
is on SKT. Yeah, exactly. It's just pushing that inner turret on the top side. As soon as Faker is seen on vision, which is about now, KT will be able to pull the trigger potentially on this Dragon. Not going to do so. Going to continue the siege there in mid lane. As KT want to get the vision down. They're not making any overly aggressive moves. Clearing out vision, and now will most likely head towards this Infernal Drake with the bottom wave under control from Smeb's Vladimir. Okay, turret's going to be taken here as... Okay, Zenit, this could be the big problem. Flash forward, Khan is going to be able to pick up the kill. Then that is just a huge mistake. Snowflower going to be in trouble here as well as Smeb's trying to find the backline, but he doesn't want to take just one person. Fear doesn't land onto Smeb, but it's beyond death for Snowflower. Hemoplague underneath the turret as Smeb goes into his Zhonya's. Has himself the Crimson Rush, but I just don't think it's going to be enough, and it's not. SKT, they find the fight. BDD can't do anything.
Caster Curse is real. Zenit, one of those players new to the big stage, overextends just for a greedy 500 range auto on an outer mid lane turret, and they may lose the game from that decision.
That was 100% a flub. Absolutely a flub there from Zenit. Really unfortunate stuff. You can understand, you know, the rookie of the team going to be the one to make that one happen is Umti. He's a fear beyond death away from dead, and it doesn't even matter. The bomb goes off. See you later. And the Dragon's not even going to come in as a consolation prize for KT.
And this is where you come in as the independent auditor and say, what was the cost of that last auto attack on the outer mid lane turret from Zenit?
Game
Infernal, Baron, so much gold, bounties, the kill gold. Like you say, game 1 is the most succinct way to write it. Legit, overextending for that auto. The play that loses KT this game 9 times out of 10.
And that was Zenit with gold for a static shiv sitting in his back pocket as well. I mean, it's just almost
and look
unforgivable.
at the minimap. Sorry to cut off. Look at the minimap. He doesn't know very much. They don't have any forward vision for him to be overextending for this play. Goes down to the Ignite, coming through from Khan, cycling it out of the unsealed spellbook. And then everybody's out of position because Shiv, Rapid Fire Cannon, i.e. Sivir, greeted for an outer turret. And unfortunately, that is inexperience versus experience. There's no lapping up that mess. There's no making it all right again. That's spraying paint all over Picasso and then asking for a duo.
Yeah, exactly right. You're not going to wash that one off. So really unfortunate stuff for Zenit. You could imagine he's definitely kicking himself at this point. This replay is going to continue picture in picture.
Goes for a pick onto Zillion, I guess, with ultimate up, and then dies to the Urgot TP. So that's not a rookie mistake. That's a, unfortunately, brazen mistake coming through from Umti.
Looks like tilt to me, to be honest, Papa. And you could understand it as well. I mean, they were just in so much control. And now double Infernal. Now a Baron buff. And a 5,000 gold lead that's sprung up out of nowhere. A really cool hat for this Time Lord. Moving towards the bottom side of the map. And SKT have just turned this game from really difficult into really easy. Extremely fast. And they have Zenit to thank for it.
A lot of hugs and a lot of mental recuperation for game number 2 for KT. We're thinking outside of just the most picture-perfect wombo, but summoners are down. Baron buff is the ultimate equalizer even against a Sivir. They continue the pressure in bot lane as Urgot brings up the minion wave in mid.
Yep. Smeb can be left on the bottom side here, most likely, to try and clear out this minion wave, but it's getting more and more difficult around this map as Teddy bouncing on in there. He's got a Bloodthirster now. Overshields galore for this Kalista, who's looking way tankier than he deserves to be at this stage of the game. It wasn't a scenario that KT should have been able to be put in, but thankfully for SKT, there was one mistake and they capitalized about as much as you possibly can onto it. Marta does have flash, so that taunt needs to be respected. And they're just going to break open the base slowly but surely. And this game went from easy to very, 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 very hard for KT in an instant. But can Umti actually make something happen? On the Hunt has been popped as Fate's Call is going to be in. KT looking just to wait it out. Is the Galio going to move forward? And SKT take 2 inhibitors, and there's no counter.
And as a counterpoint to the moment of madness from Zenit in the mid lane, consider that play where the SKT cool head said, what are we fighting for? They could have re-engaged. They got flashes and everything up.
Yeah.
They had the Fate's Call, and then they're like, wait, we got double inhibitor. There's nothing to fight for here. We can just back away, get a shop, and be fine. And that is the sort of cool head that was lost from KT. And to me, the most criminal thing for KT is the VOD review of this game is pretty useless. You pause and say, hey, are you going to do that next time? No, we'll say Zenit. And then there's really no other analysis to it, right? It's just a clear case of you don't know where the enemy are. You don't know. You're not getting a massive game-winning lead from killing this outer mid lane turret. Everything else is going fine, and you have scaling advantage.
I actually think it's worse than that, Papa. He knew where his enemy was, and he knew that he was in threat range from them, and still went for it. And I mean,
you want teaching moments when you're 2 and 6, but not a lot of teaching moments. Just a
the teaching moment is don't do that ever again.
He knows that, but I'm sure he will need a bit of time to compose himself. Will Zenit coming into future games? We'll see if Gango finally gets a return to the roster. SKT pushes up. They'll get their last inner turret of the game.
Smeb thinking about going for some sort of flank, but vision is available there for SKT, of course. It's pretty comfortable at this stage of the game. The ability to just shove these waves in. The super creeps will do the rest. And SKT, not a lot of onus on them to perform at this stage with everything that they've had available to them. Baron up again in a minute and a half, but 40 seconds is going to be the Elder Drake, and with 3 dragons stacked up and a couple of them being Infernals, they probably want to get a whole bunch of stats before they finish this game off.
And the most that KT can hope is they get a 5v5 with no asterisk, where they get to run and use the Hemo Plague and try to take the compositional lead, the scaling lead, as we talked about. Problem is, SKT have played against a lot of these comps and has taken the objectives like 2 inhibitors and never make it an honest 5v5. You don't need to. You can play the map here and minimize the chance of KT ever getting a wombo. Vladimir walking through mid lane. This is 3v4. They're trying something.
Fate's Call. They're looking for Zenit, but it's a great spell shield once again. Umti going to put his whole team in the Cataclysm and is taken out for it, but Zenit is free hitting on the backside. There's the flash forward from Smeb as Fate Faker goes into the chrono shift. Teddy can't re-enter the fight, and now Khan has to be the protector of this squad. Smeb goes golden. Zenit still in the back line. He gets exhausted here from the Urgot, but he has to disdain to get himself out. Faker, can he actually do enough to help this fight as Mata wants to be the hero? Not going to land the taunt though, and KT, they may have found the team fight. The Frozen Thralls are in, and Faker's going to grab that first kill. Now Khan with the Purge. The shield is there. One more crit, and Zenit will get rid of this guy as Kallista's top side. In fact, Teddy's given up on this fight completely, and somehow that looked like it was going to be a KT win, but SKT come out ahead.
Teddy noped out of it early. You see that they need the minions to actually force a defense out of KT. We talked about the team comps for a reason. This is the price you pay for going for an early to mid-game spike, but then again, you see that with the minions working against them, with the gold lead just coming out of nowhere, it's so much harder for KT to execute, even though that went about as good as possible for KT Rolster.
Yeah, Umpty going to come on over. Teddy just bounces over the wall, though, and just not a lot of options here as the blast going to be taken. Umpty, at least, is going to escape, but he knows that Elder is going down. Doesn't land onto Mata, because he hadn't actually spawned just yet. That's the only good news KT can take from this. We have a look at this team fight. It was certainly messy.
Definitely. They just decide to hard engage. It's a huge engagement called by the side of KT. Teddy with the instant cleanse. But notice that Teddy and his positioning in this fight, he's trying to kite upwards, can't walk past Vladimir. He actually never re-enters the fight after this. He goes topside, and we're just watching the bot side as Lissandra just zones away. The Kalista, if there was no 8,000 gold injection to SKT, you can't be even competitive on the bot side here. But they're able to continue fighting out. And remember, if we get a repeat of a team fight like this, there will in fact be the Elder Dragon buff, and the Elder Drake means more damage from the Urgot, that's for sure, with his high attack speed on W.
Yeah. Well, SKT in position for a fight right now. Zenit Spell Shield on cooldown, and somehow Snowflower took his whole health bar in damage.
But you get to pick up double Infernal Elder, go to Baron and say, we face checking KT Rolster, and that is something they're going to have to answer very quick.
Well, the answer's probably, well, I guess we have to, but we really don't want to. BDD going to teleport his way forward in the Baron. There's so many sticks in it, but they're just going to move away.
They're trying to follow the minion wave and get a third inhibitor of the game.
They should be able to. 2 inhibitors have respawned,
KT have to do something. They want to
fight.
fight.
They just dive on top of this Baron. And now SKT has to go to them. This could be a good opportunity for KD to make something work, as Umpty is going to dive on forward. Teddy's put in a cage, but he just jumps out. It's no worries there as Jarvan. Has he actually caused enough disruption? The flash out from Khan, who wants to get it. Yeah, the chrono shift, sorry, not going to get utilized. Has to eat honey fruit instead. There's now Smeb. No hemo plague, but
they want to
KC
stop
have
their
a bit
backs,
of a...
but Teddy's so big!
Yeah, I know. He's trying to find the Ren sets the pool. Is it going to be? The Clit just kicks him to death. The Vladimir is going to die, and he has his Guardian Angel to stay alive. BDD, can he cycle enough? As the ultimate is going to come in, and Zenit gets a double kill. Khan, can he get the 1v1 as the spell shield is in? Teddy is on the hunt, though. 1 versus 2 is what it feels like as Zenit slowed down a couple more of these crits, and Khan is just going to die. The ricochet is so just the tip, not enough from Zenit as Faker wants to come on over. 1 versus 3, Zenit against the world. This could be his redemption. But SKT, they're trying to find it. 1 more crit, the slowdown. There it is. The ultimate's going to land, but the spell shield is going to get that one as well. Chrono shift. It brings Faker back alive again. Full health now available for the chrono shifting man in the mid lane.
And Atlas, that's no yakety sax. Consider how much time he wasted from SKT. 3v1, 4v1, 3v2, it didn't matter. The Sivir living there actually breathes more life in the game.
Well, Zenit take it away as Umpty dives on forward. He has to sacrifice himself here, but the rest of the fight is a lot of Sivir free hitting, Papa.
The good news is he dies so fast that Fear Beyond Death doesn't fear 3 members of his team rushing in to contest the Baron. Urgot just wants to die, unfortunately. The suicide note is rejected by KT Rolster, and from here, Teddy plays this perfectly. We know his Kalista is otherworldly. As the fight goes on, SKT, try as they might, don't have a team comp to make these team fights as easy as the gold lead should suggest, and Zenit just will not roll over after his earlier mistake.
Yeah, gets a whole bunch of movement speed from the Mercurial Scimitar there as well, so able to create a lot of distance, and then Khan realizes he can't do anything. As picture-in-picture, we saw it starting up here as Khan taking so much damage even through the Gargoyle Stoneplate, and BDD, great position now for a potential flank, has the claw. Back off cooldown very soon.
Consider that Smebs flashes back up and he still can rewrite history and bring back what looked like a lost game for KT Rolster with the right ult. KT keeps saying, come to us please, we want to fight. This gets the honest 5v5 that seemed impossible 5 minutes ago.
Well, SKT, they've got Khan making their way forward. The Baron, once again, extraordinarily low.
Oh!
He might just be...
Oh,
there we go, finally! We get Faker before the chrono shift. Feels like a 2-for-1 special, as he can normally take someone back up again. And 1 minute on the death timer, KT, 4 versus 5. But Umpty's extraordinarily low. Can SKT get a steal cleared? Wants to make the historic play, but it's not going to happen. It's BDD that locks it down, but Clid can't even get into the pit.
And Faker going down there is so important because then no one else can walk up. Chrono shift is wasted in that scenario. He does not have QSS. We got a very extended replay. Let's see if BDD is ever envisioned. The answer is no.
Oh,
he considers going out, but because the control ward is down, he has no idea on BDD's positioning. We're going to talk about Zenith's mistake. Faker walks up and gifts a Baron to scaling comp, and now suddenly they have the Baron and they can run at SKT and make them pay.
And that was extraordinary opportunistic play there from BDD. He just wanted to fish because he could throw the claw out, he could throw whatever buttons he wanted and then leave instantly. But
how many players just take the claw? Because like, I started a claw, I'm going out. The flash was so big. And speaking of flashes.
Yes, Snowflower might need to use his as Fear Beyond Death comes in. Not going to get any fears. But KT now lose one of their Baron buffs, and this is going to put a real blocker on the situation. As Umpty, in trouble. He was baiting for BDD, but may have just baited his entire team. As now Zenith comes on over with some auto attacks, and the Q, thankfully, is not going to land from Clid. Marta get hit by the Chemo Plague, but it's not actually going to do a lot of damage there to Teddy. On the hunt, now on cooldown as well.
Very hard to disengage, even with Sivir Ultimate against Zilean at this point with all the CDR. You are going to be hyper speed for days. BDD in his flank spot again as the base being taken down by SKT minions.
Yep, there's another Elder Drake that's going to get spawned as well, and this will be second for SKT. Might be way more difficult for KT to actually get over the top.
Now, KT Rolster picked up the Elder, remember. So actually, this will not be stacking buffs. It'll be SKT's first Elder.
Oh, no, SKT got it.
You're right. It was SKT. So this will be a double Elder. It's a 5-minute buff.
Yeah.
How can KT react? Snowfire can't be there.
Well, they're going to have to try and steal this one away as it does reset. Umpty doesn't have the flag and drag. Oh, BDD so desperately trying to get in there. Can't get onto Faker, who just speeds himself up. And
double
that's
Elder.
2 Elders onto SKT. BDD might actually have to use his own ultimate on himself, and he does. Doesn't get any value out of it at all, and the Zhonya's now has to be used immediately afterwards. Lissandra goes down for basically free as Umpty dives on forward. Zenith gets 1 kill onto Khan, though. Can he get any more done as the Frozen Thralls are so strong? Smeb's still alive. Sivir and Vladimir marching towards the SKT base.
Double Elders match, double threats, and Vladimir and Sivir, they can't get near it. Teddy takes half his life. The moment he tries to duck in, he's not actually behind a front line. He comes from the side, he goes out the side, and that means they're going to lose their inhibitor at minimum.
Yeah, well, they should be able to get on over here as SKT should defend from their Nexus turrets most likely. The rest of the waves are pushing out here for SKT, thankfully for them. But it looks like KT want to use the rest of this Baron buff to try and get some chip damage on Nexus turrets. It's risky because Teddy is still very strong. This burn damage is a huge deal from the Elder Drake.
Oh boy, Atlas, take a bow. Take a breath also, because we're not done with the breathless team fights. The death timers being around 50 minutes have not mattered. I believe the longest game of the season. We have it in front of us. 57 minutes. Possibility, we see it here. How about a third Elder?
And remember, the 57-minute game was a Freaka versus Jinner. It wasn't necessarily because of high-level play like this.
Remember, Teddy has double Elder, double Infernal, and a pretty defensive build. Watch his contribution here because Vladimir Sivir. There's AoE damage up the wazoo. He tries to come in from the side to make something of the engage from SKT, and he gets a couple of autos on Snowflower, and then he gets first cast, then auto, and he can never fight again. Unfortunately, that's just Kalista after the Vladimir and Sivir are confirmed. Doesn't matter, double Elder, it doesn't change your defensive stats here. They're taken down where they stand. We're running out of Zilean passive value, everyone level 18 on the side of SKT.
And Zenith now has no boots, but a Trinity Force. This guy is hitting like an absolute truck. And On the Hunt's going to help him get that movement speed anyway. All of the inhibitors back alive for KT. SKT is still waiting on their middle inhibitor.
75% crit from the build, and then Triforce, Merc Scimitar, and even some armor penetration. this is the 9.3 full build we've been denied for a long time in Korea.
Yeah.
Zenit cannot afford to make any critical errors, but it does feel like SKT need to pull a rabbit out of a hat now that the game has reached a kind of even state. We already talked about even or ahead KT Rolster, comp-wise, in a great spot.
Well, you got the Spooky Ghost. Zenit is going to use his Spell Shield on one of them. We've got 2 Guardian Angels available here for SKT. We've got none up for KT Rolster, which could actually be a huge deal, meaning that we've got 3 extra lives for SKT. A lot of deaths need to come in before they're actually going to be wiped off the Rift.
I actually really want to see, I'm going to get it up on the screen now, who's actually got Warding Totem, because Teleport flanks this late in the game with control wards at a premium, regular wards at a premium. Does feel like it's going to have to be a turbo engage from a Sivir and say the Spellbinder on the side of the Vladimir. That makes Vladimir more predictable and easier to space out Kalista and the Zillion in a fight.
He does have that Warding Totem built up. A couple of wards sitting in Snowflower's inventory as well, of course.
Hard to scout them out, though, this late in the game. A lot of people will change back to Warding Totems, and you have that duality of Warding Totem is beat by Sweeper, which is beat by Spot Vision on the blue trinket. Always very intriguing to see where all those things go. Will it be about a Baron spawning in 20 seconds, 2 minutes on the 3rd Elder of the game, both already claimed by SKT, and they still have the buff for a minute 15.
Yeah, there's a minute to go as this Baron is going to come up in 10 seconds. Zenit just throws out the ultimate. Okay, it's looking to make an aggressive play. I like the mindset. That's going to be a big button now on cooldown, and SKT can play around it.
I guess the thought was they had 2 flank wards if SKT took the fight for Lissandra to join on, but doesn't end up leading to anything.
Oh, speaking of flanks, Zenit's Spell Shield is on cooldown. Fate's Call comes in. Teddy wants to jump on top of Smeb, but he gets the pull off in time. Does have the Zhonya's, uses it immediately. Mata taking a lot of damage, but Smeb is able to get out. Chrono Shift onto Mata there as well. He is going to get himself back alive again. Cleared is battling BDD. Claw does come out, has the Q available once more, but Click gets the solo kill in the back line. What is it about these massively long games? And mid lane is getting soloed out by junglers.
And it's such a big moment. If you remember the pivotal moment of the 94-minute game,
that's what I'm saying.
It's when Umti soloed out Faker on the Kha'Zix versus Kassadin. They're going on to Smeb.
Oh no, he's going to dive on forward. Doesn't have the Zhonya's, doesn't have many hopes, as the Hemo Plague is going to give him a whole bunch of health back. So thankfully, he lives to fight another day, but that's without Flash, without Teleport, and without Ultimate.
And if you ask the question, how could Lee Sin deal with a full item Lissandra? That's double Elder buff, meaning every auto was actually doing damage on the Lissandra who did not want to use ult. Sivir ult is used. They're trying to contest the Baron. It's at 7,000.
Yeah, well, they don't have the Elder anymore. And remember, this is a Kalista squad. They've got the Rend available, in Zenit not actually getting any autos in here. Immediately, he's going to get that cleanses. The Baron is now on SKT. Zenit gets locked down and destroyed. Khan grabs that kill, and at 50 minutes, SKT will secure the game unless Smeb can do anything about it.
A game that had everything is defined by Lee Sin and Clid catching BDD on a flank. Now with the numbers advantage and the Baron buff, the game will end. Congratulations, SKT. What a roller coaster.
That was incredible. KT put up such an incredible fight, and we almost forgot Zenit's mistake because of how well he played a couple of those team fights in a row to try and bring it back. That is huge from the rookie player on the KT side. And I'm just excited that we've got ourselves a Telecom war that we can be excited about. And I'm also super glad that it's a best of 3 and KT have an opportunity to fight back.
One of those Telecom wars of old when these were the 2 best teams in Korea. That is no longer the case, of course. KT almost brought SKT down to their level, but experience to me was the big separator here. People knew their role better on the side of SKT than KT, specifically with Zenit in the early game. Still, the scaling comp almost brought them back together, but SKT keeps them honest. Clid goes on a hunting mission. BDD won't get the flank a second time like he did on Faker. Taken out by the Elder Dragon buff of all things.
Yeah.
And honestly, the only squad sitting on the sidelines feeling relieved is going to be the Griffin fans, because they see SKT have to fight so hard to take down KT after they made quick and easy work of their opposition who entered this match on the same stat line.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you remember as well, I mean, Griffin made short work of both SKT and KT themselves. So it's feeling like they're on a different plane. I actually just don't care. I don't want to talk about Griffin right now because this is the Telecom war, and we wanted to get exciting League of Legends I didn't think that we were going to. I have to be honest with you, LCK fans. I wasn't expecting this to be close at all. I was expecting an SKT win, and I was expecting it fast. But this was everything but that. This was what looked like a KT victory, getting thrown, and then SKT throwing it back, and then an hour long, and SKT, without the scaling advantage, win the game. Just incredible.
It's so hard to make a comp like this work with the one threat, with just being all about in and out of aggro. We're going to get a replay before we go to break of the fight, and this is Teddy saying it's time for the go button. And the fact that Vladimir is out of the fight, no value out of a bajillion gold on Vladimir. No longer is it Sivir and Vlad as best friends, and this is what was on the top of the screen. BDD fails his claw, flashes out, and Clid says, hey, I'm battle ready. I've got the Elder Dragon double buff here and able to chase down. BDD never ults during that play, and that ends up costing. So first it was Zenit, then it was Faker, back to BDD. Those are the names that really were the big inflection points for game number 1.
Yeah, it's so incredibly sad. And we saw BDD's face after that game as well. I mean, he was red-faced. He looked like there was almost tears in the eyes because he knew that largely because he wasn't there for one of his incredible flanks that he got throughout the rest of the game. If there was something that I could say to him, I'd say, well, the rest of your play was absolutely amazing. His pick, his opportunistic pick onto Faker was so beautiful.
But when would you say that, Atlas? I would bet you wouldn't say it right now when he's walking back feeling really sheepish.
No.
Not the time for that comment, and unfortunately for KT, they're going to have to pick themselves up, and not with the veterancy of the opponent. 60,000 damage. Remember, Hemo Plague helping out for some of those ricochet crits, but that 6-item Sivir, this was a game that went both ways, and the gold graph tells one story that the scaling, of course, didn't endorse. The rubber stamp was on KT in the late game, outside of the mistakes you can't expect. And Zenit's was the really big one, and unfortunately, they did so much good work after that, and yet still in the clutch, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it was so close, and yet so far for KT Rolster. However, they do have another chance to fight back.
Get together, mate. We got more games.
And we've got a Telecom war on our hands as well. You may not have been expecting it back home, but of course it's going to deliver. 2019, doesn't matter which year it is. This is the Telecom war, and we'll be back after a short break for Game 2.